Okay, today we want to learn how to divide by a decimal. Now remember last week we learned how to divide into a decimal. And that was actually pretty easy if you know how to divide by a whole number. Okay? Because all you have to do to divide into a decimal is bring the decimal straight up in your answer and divide like normal. Now dividing by a decimal is a lot more difficult. And maybe not a lot more difficult, but it is tricky and you have to remember what to do. Because the truth is, you can't divide by a decimal. Like if I had 5 4/10 and I wanted to divide it into 216 thousandths, okay, the first thing you have to realize is I can't divide by a decimal. So I have to change a decimal into a whole number. And you might say, well, how would I do that? And I say, think back to when we were multiplying decimals. Didn't we learn for every power of 10 you multiply by, you move one place to the right? So if I could take 5 4/10 and change it into a whole number, 54, by moving one place to the right. So if I took 5 4/10 and multiplied it by 10 to the first power, which is 10, sure enough, I could bring the 0 down because 0 times 54 is 0, 1 times 4 is 4, and 1 times 5 is 5. Count the total number of places behind the decimal of the problem, one place and no places. Give me one place in the answer. Move one place over, and sure enough, I can drop the 0, and I have the whole number 54. So, that's how you could change this to a whole number. However, if I'm going to change this to a whole number by moving one place right, I can't be dividing this anymore, because you see, if I had 2 in the 4, everyone knows 2 goes in the 4 2 times, remainder 0. But if I was multiplied 2 times 10, which is 20, 20 doesn't go in the 4 2 times. That's because whatever I do to this number I'm dividing by, I have to do to this number I'm dividing into. You see, if I multiply 4 times 10, I get 40. And sure enough, 20 goes into 40 2 times because 2 goes into 4 2 times, shift back one place. 2 times 0 is 0, 2 times 2 is 4. So, it's like a little jealous brother or sister. I had a little brother who was only 11 months younger than me. And every time I wanted to do something with my friends and I'd ask my mom, my little brother would go, "That's not fair. You get to do that. I want to do that." If you have a little brother or sister, you know exactly what I mean. I hated it. By the way, if you are a little brother or sister, you most probably do that to your big brother and sister, even though you might not admit it. But anyway, this is like a little jealous brother or sister. Whatever you do to this one, you have to do to that one. So the first thing you have to do to divide by a decimal is change the decimal you're dividing by to a whole number by moving the decimal to the right. In this case, I move one place to the right. If I move one place to the right here, I have to move one place to the right here also. And if I were you, when you move it, I would bring it up straight at the same time, because I've seen people all the time that move the decimal to the right, and I know they do because they have the little loop there, but they don't bring it up here, they wind up bringing it back where it was. So when you move it one place right, bring it up when you begin. Now, the rest of the problem is like dividing a whole number into a decimal. Just divide like normal. 5 goes into 21, it goes 4 times, shift back one place. 4 times 4 is 16, that's a 6 carry a 1. 4 times 5 is 20, plus 1 is 21. Did I guess too big? No, I can subtract. Remainder 0. Did I guess too little? No, my remainder 0, I guessed just right. And that's not my answer, because remember, every place beyond the decimal in the problem needs something on top of it in the answer. The 6 has a 4 on top of it, the 1 has nothing on top of it. What represents nothing? 0, so I place a 0 there. And that's how you divide by a decimal, all right? Now, if I wanted to divide by 25 hundredths into 3 70 7/10, say. All right, the first thing I have to do is say I can't divide by 25 hundredths. I have to make that a whole number by moving the decimal 2 places to the right, which is the same as multiplying by 10 to the second power, which is 100. If I'm going to move the decimal 2 places to the right here, that's my little jealous brother or sister. That's not fair. He got to move 2 places to the right. I want to move 2 places to the right. So you move 2 places to the right. You only have 1 place, so you add a 0, and you bring the decimal up. Now the rest of the problem is just regular plain old long division. Divide the front into the front, 2 into 3 goes once, shift back 1 place. 1 times 5 is 5, 1 times 2 is 2. Did I guess too big? No, I can subtract. 7 minus 5 is 2, 3 minus 2 is 1. Did I guess too little? No, 12 is less than 25, so I can bring down my 0. Now I divide again. The front and the front, 2 goes into 12 exactly 6 times, so a better guess would be 5. 5 times 5 is 25, carrying the 2. 5 times 2 is 10, and 2 is 12. Did I guess too big? I did, because 125 is bigger than 120. So I just erase my 5, and I try a 4. 4 times 5 is 20, carrying the 2. 4 times 2 is 8, and 2 is 10. Did I guess too big? No, I can subtract. Remainder 20. Did I guess too little? No, 20 is less than 25. So I can add a 0 and bring it down. Divide 2 into 20 goes 10 times. The biggest thing I can use is 9. 9 times 5 is 45, carrying a 4. 9 times 2 is 18, and 4 is 22. Did I guess too big? Yes, this is bigger than that. So I erase this and try an 8. 8 times 5 is 40, carrying a 4. 8 times 2 is 16, and 4 is 20. And what do you know? I didn't guess too big because I can subtract. I get a remainder of 0, which means I guessed perfectly, and my answer is 14 and 8/10. So again, remember, to divide by a decimal, you can't divide by a decimal, but you can make the decimal you're dividing by a whole number by multiplying by a power of 10 and moving it to the right. Just remember, if you're going to move the decimal right here, you have to move the decimal right here, the same number of places. It's that little jealous brother or sister. So just make sure you do the same to both what you divide by and what you divide into. And other than that, it's just plain old regular long division.